Hello, everyone. So this morning, let's analyze together to see which direction BTC will take, whether it will continue to rise or start to fall. And if it goes up, at which point should we go long? And if it goes down, at which point should we continue to short? Where should we set our stop loss? And where could we potentially take profit? And I will explain in detail why it goes up, why it goes down, and why we enter a long or a short at certain points, where we set our stop loss and where we can potentially take profit. Those are the topics we'll cover in this video. Here we can see that BTC on the daily candle. On this daily candle, we can see how BTC closed its candle today. Today, BTC closed with a red candle with very strong downward momentum. Yesterday, I analyzed with everyone that BTC would continue to go down when it closed this candle in red, and it would keep dropping to retest this wick here. So as we can see, BTC has gone down, retested this wick, passed through it, and dropped to the $64,700 area. And now we see that today, BTC has closed another daily candle, again, a red candle with a very long momentum. The candle body is getting longer, which means the selling pressure is starting to increase. And today, with the BTC daily candle pattern, it's a very long candle with a wick that pulled back up for a bit. BTC dropped to around $64,500 and then wicked back up to $65,000. With a candle close like this, we will continue to see BTC go down. First, BTC will retest the $64,500 area once again, and then it will continue to go down. The next area we expect is that BTC will drop to around $60,000. So with a daily candle close like this morning, we can determine that BTC will continue to decline. Therefore, for this morning's outlook, since BTC continues to drop, we will open a short position. And we can see that previously there was a double top pattern for BTC. And with this double top, it's highly likely that it will go down to retest this lower area, which is the 62,000 zone. But this morning, July 24th, we will see how far its momentum can push it down. We will continue to observe on the H4 time frame. On the H4 time frame, we can see that right here at this area, $64,500. This is a support zone, and BTC has already touched this support zone. Yesterday, it dropped to the support zone once. It dropped to the support zone once and then bounced back up, rising again to 65,200. And now it is continuing to test this support zone. We will continue to observe this support zone. If it breaks below this support zone, that is, if it loses the support area at 64,500, then we will see BTC continue to drop quite deeply to the 64,000 zone and even deeper, which is 63,500, 63,000, and 62,500. So with the daily candle, we can see that the downward momentum of BTC is still quite strong, but we can see that on the H4 chart, it has already touched the support zone. And now we will go back to the daily candle. With the daily candle like this morning, it closed with a candle like this. So we will open a short position. And we will open our short position in two separate orders. For the first order, we will enter at 65,100 right after this candle closes. We will place one order. For the second order, we will open it somewhere around 65,500. And where will we set our stop loss? Just to note, this morning's outlook is still a short view. Although we can see there is a support zone on the H4 chart, we still open a short position because at this particular candle, BTC closed with a very strong selling force and the selling volume is increasing. With the selling volume increasing like this, the likelihood of retesting the wick at $64,500 is very high, and it could drop down to the $64,000 area or even lower. So with this kind of candle close pattern, we've determined that we will short this morning, right? The trend will be to short. For shorting, we will split into two orders after this candle closes. So we will enter at $65,100 for the first order, and the second order will be right at this wick around $65,500. And if we cut, we will cut a bit above it, which is at 66,000. We will set the stop loss at 66,000, okay? Let's look at the H4 chart. What do we see on the H4? There is this peak, and that peak, meaning the 65,500 area, is where we will enter the second order. We will continue to short. The first order is entered at the 65,100 area. The second order is at 65,500, and we will cut at the 66,000 area. That's a short. With BTC on the H4 time frame, we can see that although it has reached the H4 support zone on the daily candle, we can still short. And on this H4, we can still see that it is still in what kind of structure? Higher highs and higher lows. See, it's in a structure of higher highs and higher lows. So the next low will come down here. And next, it could reach this 64,000 area, this 64,000. So if we shorted this morning, we could expect to gain about 1,000 to 1,500 in price. So what is our take profit target? It still follows the structure of higher highs and higher lows. So the next low will be somewhere around 64,000, from 63,600 to 64,000. That is the area where we will take profit this morning with the short order. All right. Because it still follows the structure of higher highs and higher lows, our first target will be around the 64,000 area. So if we enter at 65,100 and it doesn't reach 65,600, then our entry will just be at 65,100. If it drops to 64,000, we will make a profit of 1,000 points. If it manages to go back up to 65,500 to 65,600, then we will enter the second order and our profit target will be even further. But the probability that it will just go straight down is quite high. It goes straight down to legitimize its own structure. In the case that it breaks through the 64,000 zone, then Bitcoin will drop very deeply. It will go down to the 63,500 and 61,700 zones. So let's observe. If it returns to this 64,000 zone and continues to rise again, then its higher high and higher low structure on the H4 time frame is still ongoing. In that case, our short order will profit by about 1,000 points. And if it drops to around 63,500, which is this bottom area here dragging across, then it's about, we can gain around 2,000 points. So to sum up for BTC this morning, our outlook is still to short. And after BTC closes the daily candle, we need to enter the short order immediately. Because with the daily candle closing like this, it will likely go down to retest the lower area here around 64,600 and 64,000 with a very high probability. So we still have to open the short order. Open, but split it into two orders. One order right at the area after it closes and opens, which is around 65,100. The second order, we will enter near this peak, which is 65,500, and set the stop loss at 66,000. On the H1 chart, we can see here that H1 touched the support zone, bounced back and formed a bullish candle here, a reversal doji, and then moved up to 65,200. Now it is retesting this support zone. So BTC might continue to move back up to the 65,500 zone because it is continuing to validate its lower high, lower low structure on the H1 chart. With a wave structure of lower highs and lower lows, there is a very clear downtrend on the H1 chart. So it still follows the lower high, lower low structure. We can see that the next high it could reach is the 65,500 zone. That's why we have to split our entry into two orders, one at 65,100 and another at 65,500, and we cut at 66,000. Because it still follows the lower high, lower low structure. This spot might not be its next lower high yet, maybe it's here. But if this is the lower high, the highest point, it can retrace to, because according to its wave structure, when it goes down, it has to go up to form a high and then go down again, meaning it follows the pattern of lower highs and lower lows. So if this is its next lowest high, then we could enter a trade somewhere around 65,100 and it would drop straight down to the 64,000 zone. So we could make about 1,000 in price difference. Yeah. And I think this support zone is not strong enough. It's a weak support zone and it could break at any time. If it breaks through this weak support zone, it will drop very deeply from here. Next, it will go down to 63,800 and then further down to here, 62,800. And even deeper is this bottom, which is 61,800. There, 61,800, 62,800, 63,800. And I expect that its upward trend will continue, meaning the higher highs and higher lows on the H4 timeframe will persist. So it will probably reach around 64,000. When it reaches $64,000, we need to observe whether it continues to go up, meaning its next high must be higher. If so, we'll see Bitcoin rise to 68K. That means when it hits 64K, it will bounce up to 68K, following the structure of higher highs and higher lows. This point here might not yet be the lowest bottom it needs to reach. Most likely it will be around the 64,000 area. But if it drops to around 64,500, we can still make $600 profit, right? If it drops to 64,000, we can make about $1,100 profit, right? $1,100. So we need to watch the 64,000 area closely. If it continues to rise again, then we'll see that this area here will form a bullish reversal candlestick pattern. So this morning, the outlook is still short, okay? Still a short view on the daily candle. Enter the position by splitting it into two orders, and our take profit target is 64,000. If it breaks through the support zone at 64,500, then it will drop very deeply to 63,800, 62,800, and 61,800. We need to keep an eye on it this morning. So what do we see on the H1 time frame? On the H1, we can see that on both H1 and H4, there is a support zone here. But the support zone on H1 and H4 has a high chance that it might be broken or it might hold. If it breaks through this support zone, it will drop very deeply. 83,000, 63,800, 62,800, and 61,800. But if it doesn't break, it could completely form a wick down here around 64,000. Then after that, it will continue to rise to keep forming an uptrend structure with higher highs and higher lows. That's for BTC. Let's look at USDTD. USDTD on the daily candle. Here we can see USDTD on the daily candle. See, it's holding up pretty well here, and USDTD on the daily candle is rising quite nicely. Yesterday, we analyzed that it formed a wick here and we already had an entry point down here, right? It bounced back up, and with the strong upward momentum of this dollar market of USDTD, we can expect it to keep rising and we can anticipate it will increase to around 8.7%. That means we expect this USDTD is still in a structure of lower highs and lower lows, but our nearest expectation is that it could retest the 8.5% area, and then next is 8.6%. And the area it could rise to in order to continue forming the lower highs and lower low structure is the 8.5% zone. If it goes up to 8.5%, currently it's at 8.4%, right? If it goes up to 8.5%, then we'll see our BTC somewhere around 64,000. So we expect that if it rises to this 8.5% zone and still follows the structure of lower highs and lower lows, lower high after lower high, then the next peak will be here around 8.5%, and its next low will be down here at 8.1%. And if it reaches 8.5% and shows signs of a trend reversal, then we have to close our BTC positions. Currently, our short order this morning will be placed at 65,100 and 65,500 if it goes up and gets filled. But most likely, we will only be able to enter the order at 65,100. It might get filled at that price. And we are watching for BTC to reach this 8.5% zone. And if it reaches this 8.5% level and shows signs of a trend reversal, like before when it went up here to this 8.5% level, it formed a bearish engulfing candle. After forming the bearish engulfing candle, it retested and then dropped down. So at this point, we will observe if it goes up here and continues to form a candlestick pattern and shows a tendency to reverse and go back down, then the top will be here at 8.5% and the bottom will be at 8.1%. If it reaches 8.5% and forms a reversal candlestick pattern and turns back down, then at that point we have to close the BTC short position. Even if BTC is at 64,500, we still have to close, or even at 64,000, we still have to close. Right. Because if it shows signs of reversing, it still follows the structure of lower highs and lower lows. That's it. If it turns back, then the next low will be down here. The next low will be at 8.1%. At that point, our BTC would have to rise somewhere between 67,000 to 68,000. If it comes back, here is the highest point it can reach. And if the low drops to this 8.1%, then our BTC has to go up to 67,000 to 68,000. That's why this morning when we took a short position, it was just a short-term short and we set the take profit target somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 in price. And pay attention to this area. If it manages to break through this high, meaning it breaks past the 8.5% zone, then we can continue to hold. Yeah. Currently, on the daily candle, we can see that the upward momentum is quite strong, right? But on the H4 chart, it's still in a structure of lower highs and lower lows. If it manages to break this high, then according to the reaction method, we draw a line through here. If it breaks this line, then its downtrend ends and the uptrend will return. If it breaks this area here, then the uptrend will continue, and as it continues, its bid will decrease. At that point, if it breaks through, we will continue to hold the short position. We can close half of the position and immediately move the take profit to the entry point, right? And keep holding the rest. But if it doesn't break this area, it will turn around and go down here. If there are signs of a trend reversal here, such as a reversal candlestick pattern, then we must close the short position and switch to long with the take profit set at 67,000 to 68,000 for BTC. That concludes my analysis for this morning. If you found this helpful, please give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Thank you, everyone.